Northwestern Ontario about to be enveloped by a heat wave. Ontario moves to speed up second doses to youth. And a suspect in custody following the death of a Toronto police officer.
Good evening and thanks very much for joining us. I'm Brittany Ramsey. Well, this weekend is looking like a scorcher in Thunder Bay, and with temperatures rising to the mid-30s, area residents need to prepare for the extreme heat. The federal health minister and the district's medical officer are both urging caution and offering advice to stay safe. Brianne Foley has details.
Residents in the Thunder Bay area will be experiencing the extreme heat that's been sweeping across Western Canada. Environment Canada is forecasting daily highs of 36 degrees Saturday and 31 on Sunday. Minister of Health Patty Hajdu reminds locals to take precautions when heading outside to enjoy the summer.
But in terms of this weekend, I mean, people really just need to stay cool. They need to drink a lot of water, stay in the shade or, in a cool place if possible, and watch out for each other. Watch for the signs of heat stroke and make sure we check in on elderly people or those folks that are alone and don't have anybody else.
Dr. Janet DeMille echoes Hajdu's warnings, telling area residents to be careful when out in extreme heat. Illness related to the heat can come on quickly, so she recommends some basic steps to avoiding the impacts of the warm weather.
If you're going somewhere, find the shade, know where the shade is. If you're going to be out and it's just really hot sun, be careful of that and use a hat. Take water with you and just be mindful, that can catch you off guard about sort of heat-related illness, and you might suddenly start feeling unwell. So make sure you're drinking, make sure you've had something to eat.
The city of Thunder Bay has issued an extreme heat warning for the weekend, with the humidex expecting to reach over 40 on Saturday. Hajdu attributes the increased heat to climate change and urges that this is just another example that action is needed to cut Canada's emissions.
First of all, reminds us all how much more and how fast we have to work on climate change, and also adaptability, how we're going to transform our cities and our communities into being resilient ones that protect people from increasingly unpredictable weather events.
But with splash pads and beaches open around the district, hopefully locals will be able to find ways to stay cool over the weekend. Brianne Foley, TBT News.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry continues to ask area residents to refrain from burning brush or having campfires due to the extreme heat. There are currently 38 active forest fires in the Northwest region, and this weekend's rising temperatures present an even bigger threat when it comes to new fires breaking out. The high heat and low humidity seen in Western Canada this past week has now moved into this region. Fire Information Officer Chris Marchand says there's a high potential for more fires, especially with the lack of rain. And the MNRF hopes to take the human element out of possible fire causes.
And there's some uncertainty as to when we can expect any widespread rainfall to moderate that escalating fire hazard. As well, with recent lightning activity, we do expect to see plenty of new fire starts. So one of our goals is to really minimize human-caused fires at a time when our resources are under significant demand.
Meanwhile, the restricted fire zone continues in the Kenora, Fort Frances, and Dryden districts, as well as the southern parts of the Sioux Lookout and Red Lake districts. Marchand adds there is still no fire ban for the Thunder Bay area, but residents are encouraged to avoid making fires at this time. On to COVID-19 now. For the first time since Monday, the Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting a new case. Today's count is combined with the numbers from the holiday Thursday. The one new case today is linked to travel outside the region and is in the Thunder Bay area. Meanwhile, the active case count is down to just 4 after 3 previous cases were deemed resolved. That's the lowest level since November 6th. The health unit has reported only 4 positive cases over the past week. The total case count now sits at 3,338. Meanwhile, Ontario is continuing efforts to expand vaccine eligibility. It's now letting children between 12 and 17 book their second dose. Starting Monday, they'll be able to book through the provincial portal or by phone. Colin DeMello has more.
As Ontario's vaccination rate continues to climb, some of the hardest hit communities are turning their attention to the youngest eligible residents.
All of the Pfizer that we have in our region is pretty much earmarked for the second doses for these groups, because that remains the only product for which it's approved for this age category at this time.
Peel Region is aiming to vaccinate 1,000 children this Saturday alone. And beginning Monday, July 5th, all children between the ages of 12 to 17 will be eligible to book their appointment. The province is looking to increase those vaccination numbers to give students a shot at a normal school year.
If we really want to achieve a return to the pre-pandemic period, we as a community, as Ontarians, need to achieve the highest immunization rate we can, and that will allow us to have the safest opening for those age groups in particular.
There are nearly 1 million children between the ages of 12 and 17 who are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine in Ontario. So far, 57% have received a first dose, while 7% are fully vaccinated, which is why the push is on to increase those numbers.
75%, fully vaccinated is a number that has been used to really consider trying to change transmission patterns or interrupt transmission patterns, and especially with the more contagious Delta variant that is now in circulation.
There are still lingering questions, though, about what the return to in-person learning will look like. In a one-on-one interview, the province's chief medical officer of health tells me the province is still finalizing plans.
I would like us to review cohorting, size of classrooms, and have children back into the classes as safely and as effectively as possible. And those plans should be public, probably in 2 to 3 weeks.
And what about masks? Dr. Moore suggests they may still be a requirement in classrooms to limit the spread of other viruses for now.
A virus called RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. And as people stop wearing masks and socially get together, that virus is actually spreading very rapidly in the southern United States, causing children who didn't get exposed to it during the winter to get that virus into their chests, and it will mimic COVID.
And continued masking, Dr. Moore says, is one strategy to keep classrooms open and safe.
New provincial laws with stricter penalties for unsafe, aggressive driving and speeding took effect yesterday.
Anyone charged with stunt driving or street racing on or after July 1st will be subject to an automatic roadside vehicle impound of 14 days and a 7-day license suspension. Also, if you're caught driving 40 kilometers or more over the speed limit on any provincial road or municipal highway with a speed limit of under 80 kilometers per hour, you will also be subject to street racing or stunt driving charges.
The OPP says penalties will be increased for people convicted multiple times. The province says there has been an increase in these kinds of incidents, including a 52% increase during the first few months of the pandemic compared to 2019. A Thunder Bay man involved in the shooting of another man last year has been handed a 5-year prison sentence. 25-year-old Jacob Waddy was one of several people arrested and charged with attempted murder following an incident in May 2020. The victim had been shot in the legs and drove himself to the regional hospital before crashing into a barricade. The attempted murder charge against Waddy was dropped after he pleaded guilty to possession of a firearm while prohibited and using a restricted firearm for robbery. Although the judge gave him 5 years, Waddy will serve just 3 more after being given credit for time already served. The other 2 accused, 33-year-old Terry Pelto and 27-year-old Brandon Kelly, will be back in court in the fall to face their attempted murder charges. The long-awaited new entrance road at Fort William Historical Park is on time and on budget to be completed by this fall. The $6 million project will improve traffic flow in and out of the park and allow the fort to hold bigger summer events in the future. Those driving past the fort entrance on Broadway Avenue have surely noticed the construction of the new road since it began last year, and it's now getting close to completion. The need for a secondary route dates back years before the project was unveiled in 2013, after large concerts on the grounds led to 2 to 3 hour delays to leave the parking lot. Acting General Manager Patrick Morash says the new road will alleviate traffic problems and also give them a second exit in the event of an emergency. He's calling it a game changer for the future.
First of all, it provides a beautiful new entrance to the site. There's a road entrance, but there's also a recreational path entrance associated with it as well. So there's the opportunity to walk and drive onto the site. And it also gives us the opportunity for one-way traffic. So if we need to have traffic coming in and going out. We can have traffic coming in the new road and going out on King Road. So there are a variety of benefits.
The Fort opened its doors for the season earlier this week and is operating 5 days a week from Wednesdays till Sundays. A Thunder Bay resident started a long journey today. He's biking to Alberta to raise money for Toronto's Sick Kids Hospital. 68-year-old Marshall Arbor left this morning on his fundraising trek to Edmonton. The trip is in memory of his late wife after she passed away from breast cancer. He also plans to visit family in Alberta that he's never met. After weighing some options, Arbor chose to support Sick Kids Hospital.
Well, I checked a few different places, and kids are more important than, like the suffering my wife went through, and then these kids got to go through, and everything else is not good, So, and I decided that'd be a good plan. So.
The trip is planned to be about 15 days each way, and Arbor does plan to make the cycling trip back as well. He's hoping to raise $5,000, and donations can be made online at Arbor's Great Cycle Challenge website, or he'll take cash donations if you find him heading west along his route. A Thunder Bay business is celebrating its 50th year of service. Thunder Country Diving opened its doors in 1971. It was purchased 12 years later by Wally Peterson. The May Street business offers equipment for scuba diving and offers lessons how to dive safely. The past year and a half has been tough. They haven't been able to provide lessons and had to do curbside delivery. Peterson and his son plan to continue teaching people about the environment and the underwater world.
The next step is to modify what we do, try and look after the situation with COVID and travel, and get people to where they want to go and enjoy the underwater world. As Jeff has said, we're trying to work at a little bit of conservation stuff.
Continue on as best as we can to show people whatever is out in the environment. The more that people see the history and the parts of where we've been, where we've come from, the more that they can learn where we need to go or what we need to do to not only protect the history that's in about, but also protecting our environment.
Thunder Country Diving was recently able to reopen to private and semi-private lessons as part of the reopening plan, meaning groups of 2 are able to take lessons in the lake.
Well, Avery, we're wearing the